I don't know how to start.
Have you not listened to podcasts?
No, I haven't. How do they usually start them?
Oh, I thought you would know
Oh,
since
I
you're
have
like,
no
oh,
idea.
let's do
That's
a
gonna be the
podcast. You
intro
should have
right
listened
there.
to some, hey.
Hello, everyone. I am Keegan, and this is the first podcast that we're doing. I'm here with Samara. Say hello, Samara.
Hello.
We've both been following Supercars for many years, and we've both volunteered at events in our hometown. Um, yeah, so we know quite a bit about it, hopefully. Anyway, so yeah, I did do a video at the beginning of the season, and I was planning on doing videos throughout the season, but then they all got copyrighted by Supercars, unfortunately. So I'm just going to be doing it in a podcast form because Supercars is a bit annoying like that. So yeah, um, basically the first half of the season, McLaughlin's been leading from the front, and he seemed pretty comfortable at most of the circuit so far. I can't really remember anywhere where he hasn't been towards the front. Shane Van Gisbergen's the only one close to him at 131 points. So, yeah.
But he did say he didn't like his driving on Sunday in Townsville.
He didn't like it.
No, he said that the reason he got on the podium was all because of his team and that his driving wasn't as on point as he would have liked it to be.
See, that just goes to show that the Shell V Power team is really strong, despite the fact that McLaughlin wasn't even driving well. He still managed to get a podium. Like, that's pretty good.
Just has a nice car.
Yeah, he does have a very nice car this year. Um, the improvements over last year have probably been David Reynolds and Craig Lowndes have both improved quite a bit over last year. David Reynolds in the top five, where I don't think he even finished in the top seven for last year. And Craig Lowndes,
He was 7 last
he was
year.
seventh last year. Oh, okay, cool. You've got your notes there. um, but yeah, Reynolds has really impressed me this year. Just with the car that he has isn't very fast compared to the other cars, and it seems as though he's at a bit of a disadvantage in that way. But he's just really been wrangling the cars at most of the circuit, and he has a very aggressive driving style. But I know that you don't really like David Reynolds, Samar.
He's a good driver, I'll give him that.
He is a good driver, but he is slightly controversial, just a little bit controversial.
just a little bit.
Yeah, and yeah, Craig Lowndes, I think his car has improved. Craig Lowndes, I don't think has ever really dropped off in his driving ability, but his car has improved quite a bit.
Why?
I think it's just there because when he separated from Triple Eight, from like the actual Triple Eight garage a couple years ago, his
Hmm.
car just wasn't as good because he didn't have the support of that team. So now that he's had
So what's changed then?
I think it's mostly because he's just had a couple years to adjust to it, and he's had a couple changes of engineers as well. So and then now this year he's had like a consistent engineer for a couple years now, and so now it's actually finally starting to improve again. But yeah, the last couple races in Townsville weren't massively interesting. I was volunteering, so I didn't really get the spectator side of it, unfortunately. But how was it from your side, actually watching it from the spectator side, Samara?
Uh, interesting. Especially since we had the safety car quite late in both of the races.
Yeah,
Um, that was
it certainly
interesting.
changed the strategy a little bit towards the end of the
Yeah,
races.
yeah, and then obviously
You there?
out who had younger tires at that point.
So you just cut out there. Can you say that last bit again?
Oh, and then I said it was more about who had younger tires once
Yeah,
the safety car was gone.
yeah, because they were. It seems to be like Townsville's a pretty high tire wear circuit. Because how many times have you watched? Townsville is our home race, by the way. How many times have you watched Townsville from the spectator point of view. Oh, you've watched
That, uh,
like on TV, not
oh,
trackside.
that was the first year on TV.
So that's the first year, okay. So you haven't really got anything to compare it to other races because it has been said by a couple of people that Townsville isn't that interesting of a race. So, but I found it interesting, just the strategies towards some of the towards the end of the races. Even though I couldn't like hear the commentary or anything, it was still pretty interesting to watch them go round. It's just good to be trackside, regardless. But yeah. So the big news of the weekend was obviously Craig Lowndes retiring, which is it's pretty big. That's pretty huge. That's gonna really go down in history. That when Craig announced his retirement. What was your thoughts about that, Samara?
Um, I mean, it was sad, but like everyone, like you knew it was coming.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Like I thought it was gonna come, like because he only had to the end of next year on his contract, so it was interesting that.
it's interesting that he's retiring though at the end of this year, considering his contract went to 2019, and I
Yeah,
think that's the point that everybody is making. Like, why not stay on for the next year? Like,
yeah. I think it. I'm sure it will unravel itself towards the end of this year, but we can only just speculate about what he's really planning on doing. But obviously, he's been saying that he's going to do some GT racing, like some endurance racing, which will still be good to be able to watch him race because he is a really great racer.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and you could even have like some kind of management role in his own team, considering it's called Lowndes Racing now, which makes you think that he may have some kind of input come next year.
I just like when he made this statement in the media room. I just like the photo that's circulating at the moment of him and Roland Dane, of them like shaking hands, and
Mm.
just to like accentuate the fact that like, yeah, this is like a decision, we've all made it together, and like
Yeah,
that's what he was saying in his statement kind of thing.
yeah,
But then, as we were saying before, David Reynolds being like the controversial guy is gonna come along and he's stirring the pot, and he's like, oh yeah, Craig Lowndes was always saying we throughout his statement, and it makes me think that it's not his decision.
yeah. That's a really interesting point. That like a lot of people say like that it could be like not his choice. It could be like Roland
Yeah,
saying,
because Reynolds was like, oh, I'm questioning whether it was forced upon him kind of thing. And I
yeah,
was like, of course David Reynolds is gonna go and say
yeah,
this.
but like it'd be like he has a contract till the end of next year. So either he's cut that contract short or he's manipulated it to be some kind of other role in the team and still be on that contract, which would be interesting. But I think the statement that he read out, I think that was just a pre-written statement, really. Like
Yeah,
that's why it
yeah.
had "we" in it so much. It was probably written by the Red Bull PR person, um, because he just said "we" constantly.
I liked his um I liked his response to that on Instagram. That's like the
Oh yes,
feistiest I've ever seen him
yes,
on Instagram.
yes. That
I
was
was like,
really
wow.
interesting that he actually, because most of the time Craig Lowndes he just ignores comments. He just well, like because I assume he's got a PR person that does most of his Instagram anyway. Well, I think he posts his own stories, I think, or something like that. But like, when he made that post, you could tell that was actually him, kind of thing. So
Yeah, because it's very informal. He like literally starts it out with, "Okay, let's set the record straight.
yeah,
I told you, blah 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 blah."
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So like you can tell that he's been like reading comments or whatever, or like getting comments from people saying throughout this week saying, "Oh, was it even your choice?" kind of thing, and he's just like, "I'm kind of sick of this." Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Whether I think it was his choice. I think we'll find out at the end of the year, kind of thing, why he announced it like that. Because someone, I think it might have been Reynolds or someone else was saying Oh no, it was some journalist for Speed Cafe, I believe, was saying that Red Bull is like the king of PR. Like they promote their brand so well, and they always come out with things like when Craig Lowndes got 91 wins, they had those shirts ready to go straight away. And when he got and when Jamie broke 100 wins, they had the shirts ready to go as well. So like, the fact that Lowndes announced his retirement, and they barely even had enough merchandise to cover it in Townsville when he announced it, shows that like maybe it wasn't quite as planned as they make it out to be.
Hmm.
Which,
Hmm.
yeah, I thought that was an interesting point because usually Red Bull is really, really good with that. But like moving on from the conspiracy theories of where Lowndes is going or what's happening to Lowndes, let's move on to another theory of who's going to replace him next year. A lot of people are saying Silvestro, even though she is contracted to Nissan until the end of 2019.
Which would make Holden happy because they were talking about that earlier this year.
Having a
Of
female driver.
Yeah, of supporting more females in motorsports, whether it's like engineers or drivers
It's
or
interesting.
this kind of thing.
It's interesting because just recently, yeah, for the Townsville round, um, Simone de Silvestro and Nissan ran a program like a females motorsport program kind of thing. Um,
What was that?
it was very. It seemed as though they didn't promote it very well, but like they had Madison Dunstan from Townsville. That's how I found out about it through her Instagram, I think, or her Facebook. I saw her post it. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. Like she went to the garage um, before the race, like to the workshop, the Nissan workshop before the race. And then she also got to talk to Simona on track and got to go in the car and everything, I'm pretty sure. So that's really cool. And they had a couple other young female drivers that got to meet Simona as well. I'm not sure whether it
Because
was.
I think Triple Eight's garage was doing something similar.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Wow.
I'll have to get back to you with what it was called because I was watching a video earlier today of like these female apprentices that were in their garage over the weekend
Wow.
as well. So
Everyone's getting on it.
everyone's just pushing for it.
I reckon, obviously, Nissan's has a really easy avenue to do it with Simona because she's a female in the supercars and she's a really good ambassador for it, obviously. But then with the Red Bull one, that's probably Holden most likely pushing them to do that kind of thing. So that's really interesting that they're doing that. So yeah, obviously Simona could be going there since Nissan is losing their what's it called? Nissan is so Cali Racing is losing their support from Nissan next year, so she won't actually be with the factory team, and she wanted to be with the factory team for those 3 years. So that would be interesting to see what happens there. But yes, it could even possibly be someone else like Chaz Mostert or something, because he. But it's interesting because all of the people that are being like have conspiracy theories surrounding them going to AAA, most of them are still in contract till the end of 2019.
Yeah,
So like,
yeah, because they said that wasn't Simona's contract till the end of
yeah,
2019
yeah,
as
Simone
well?
is still the end till the end of 2019, but like, there's going to be a lot of contract cutting if that kind of thing is going to occur, because, well, Shaver Gisbergen did it to, I forgot which team it was. It was either, I think it might have been Stowe Brothers Racing. I think I might be wrong, but one of the teams he was with, he said he had to cut his contract short for family matters, but then he came back next year with Red Bull, I think. I can't remember, but like he cut his contract short, so it has been done before, but a lot of people hated Shaver Gisbergen after he did that.
Oh, poor
Well,
Gizzy.
it was fair enough considering what he really dogged the team kind of in that
So if
situation.
Simona was to like sign a contract with them,
Mm.
how do you think she would go?
I think the car is pretty fast, but she's going to have to um, get used to it pretty quickly. She's going to have to adapt to it pretty quickly. She's had a couple years with well, let's be honest, Nissan isn't that fast of a team despite the results they have got recently. They're still not that consistent of a team. So she's been able to get used to the supercars with a slower car. So it'll be interesting to see if she could adapt to a faster car like the Red Bull, the Triple Eight racing cars, because they are pretty fast despite the fact that they're not quite up there. They still are pretty fast cars.
I mean, I think she's quite I think she's an alright driver. In Newcastle last year, she was like one of the only drivers I think she was making the most passes in the field.
She made the most passes, I'm pretty sure, for Newcastle over the course of the weekend.
And that was a new track for everyone, so that was a pretty even playing field.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she was one of the fastest Nissans over that weekend as well, because everyone else was still adapting to it, and you could tell that she is like a properly good driver because she adapted to it quicker than everyone else did, and she knew where the passing spots were before a lot of other people figured it out. She was diving down at turn 1 and turn 2 before everyone else was doing it. Like, it was Simona, and then kind of like Craig Lowndes was the next kind of person to try and do that kind of move, like down into turn 1, because it was a bit awkward and skinny coming into turn 1 there, and not many people were risking because they thought, oh no, I can't make that. But Simona was taking the risks and actually doing it because, like, she is a pretty aggressive driver. That's how she's gotten to where she is.
Yeah.
She's had a pretty good career up until this point in a lot of the series that she has been in. So it'll be interesting to see if she moves into Red Bull and how fast she will be, because it is a fast car.
I'd like to see her in that car.
It's difficult to compare because Craig Lowndes has the ability to drag up a slow car up the field because he's a pretty good driver. Like, we've seen that in a couple Bathurst races where he's dragged slow cars up the field just because he's so consistent. So whether it's Craig Lowndes that is making the car fast or whether the Triple Eight car has improved, I think the Triple Eight car has improved because
you can definitely tell that from the championship.
Definitely.
This year and last year,
he's actually been able to win a couple races. At least, he's actually been able to be consistently up there, which is good.
Yeah.
So, it'll be very interesting to see what happens in that. So, moving on from... Oh, we didn't actually mention about Nissan. Well, we should mention that... I did mention it briefly, but obviously Nissan is not supporting Kelly Racing anymore. That was announced in the first half of the season.
But they'll still be using Nissan.
Yes, they will still be using Nissans. They'll still be using the Altimas, unfortunately. I just think they should be running the GTRs instead of Altimas. Really, because they're letting the Mustang run next year. Really, Nissan should just run a GTR come 2020. Well, the Kelly brothers should get the GTR homologated so that they can race the GTR, because that's going to be a much faster car than the Altima. Because Altima's a family car. It's not a racing car. It shouldn't be on a racetrack. It's the
last of their car of the future.
Is it? Oh.
Like, from the Volvos and the Nissans and what was the other manufacturer?
Mercedes.
The Mercedes. The Nissans stuck it out.
They've improved. They have improved over the years. Like the Kelly brothers were saying when they first were racing the Nissans, they were saying, we're not going to be fast to begin with, but by the time we get to 2018, 2019, we'll be faster. And so they had like a plan, and they actually completed it. So they've done well. Like they got that race win at Winton, and then Kelly was up there at Hidden Valley as well. So they've done well to get where they are, considering they had to start basically from scratch against teams that have been using the cars for years. It it was a very bold move from them anyway, and it paid off in the end. Even though Nissan pulled out the weekend of them getting their first win. Well, not their first win, the weekend of them getting a win for the first time in a while. So, yeah, that was pretty funny. I posted on Twitter. I said, "Wouldn't it be hilarious if a Nissan won this weekend?" And then I'm like, "Oh my god, a Nissan won this weekend." that that was an interesting weekend on Twitter. But anyway, so this weekend, hopefully I get this posted before it starts, from the 20th to the 22nd, is Ipswich Raceway, which is...
Who do you reckon, Chaz or Scott?
I reckon Scott McLaughlin's going to be up there. I don't think Chaz will be there again like he was last year, because Tickford Racing just haven't had the pace this year. But it seemed as though it's a pretty difficult place if you don't have the pace. It's difficult to get up there. Like, it's not kind of place where if you make some daring moves you can get up there, because you have to really be on the pace to get up there, because it's such a difficult circuit to get a good lap around. So I think it will suit Scott McLaughlin. What about you?
So, do you think the championship points will look the same after the weekend, or do you think Van Gisbergen might be sitting on top?
I don't think Van Gisbergen will beat McLaughlin this weekend. Because I think, yeah, both of them test around this circuit. They both test at Queensland Raceway because they're both Queensland-based teams. So they both basically have the same amount of data about this circuit, because they're only allowed to do a certain amount of test days. So neither of them are really an advantage over the other, unless something dramatic happens, like it's a raining weekend or something like that. I think it's going to be. Well, it won't be boring, but it'll be Scott McLaughlin. It'll be McLaughlin up there with Van Gisbergen not far behind, because Whincup hasn't really shown great pace this year, so I don't think he's going to be up there. He's been a little bit too inconsistent.
He didn't have a podium finish before Darwin. He hadn't been on the podium since Tasmania. So there was there was like that whole period there where he didn't get a podium finish.
Wow, that's a long time.
So I want to know what was up with that.
I think he was just really inconsistent. I think he's too used to leading from the front of the championship kind of thing. Because
what do you mean?
Because usually he's really used to being the fastest person in qualifying, then setting off from the front of the race, and then just defending for most of the race. He's not really used...
Oh, so he's not used to up through the field.
Yeah, he's not used to that. He's not used to fighting through the field. Like, obviously when he was racing with Dodo Racing back in the day, he had to, because it was with a backmarker team. But because he's been racing with such a top team for so long,
That's actually true. He's better at, like, creating a margin. Like, straight off from the front, and then he'll create, like, that big margin.
Yeah, if he's on the front row and he manages to get away into first position on the first or second lap, he makes a pass and into first or whatever, you probably... If he's got a good car setup, you won't see him for the rest of the race.
Yeah, actually.
He'll just be up the road. That's what we were used to from like 2008 to 2012 almost. Was just Jamie Whincup going to the front and then disappearing into the distance kind of thing. And that's when
What's he like at Queensland Raceway?
He's pretty alright there, because he's alright because he's got they obviously test there, so he's alright. But I don't think he's going to be faster than Van Gisbergen, because Van Gisbergen is pretty driven this year to try and get that championship again. But I think McLaughlin is just... The Shell V-Power cars are just so fast this year. They're faster than last year, I reckon. They're pretty fast. So you go.
No, because Fabian is sixth at the moment. As opposed to third last year.
Yeah, well, I don't know what's happened to Fabian, honestly. I was in like the first race of the season. He didn't qualify well, and there was actually some legitimate reason why he didn't qualify well, like a red flag came out or something like that. But he didn't come through the field at all, and I'm like, what? And Scott McLaughlin's up the front, and I'm like, where's Where's Fabian? Where question of the weekend? Where's Fabian gone?
Because I think Red Bull's currently leading the team's championship.
Yeah,
By
because Coulthard is so
59
far
points.
down in
Yeah.
championship points. So, but I think McLaughlin will probably get up there this week. He'll be in the top five at least, unless he crashes or something, which is a bit difficult to do at Queensland Raceway because you've got so much runoff. But anyway, I don't like Queensland Raceway that much. Usually um I don't even watch most of the race for Queensland Raceway. I just like watch the beginning and end kind of thing. But no, I'll probably watch it all this weekend because it could get interesting for the championship because it's 131 points, so he's got a bit of a buffer. McLaughlin's got a bit of a buffer, but like still it might get cut down. It could get to a critical point where it's like below 100 points if McLaughlin doesn't go well and Van Gisbergen does. So, what's your pick for the weekend? Who do you reckon?
Oh, Scott, obviously.
McLaughlin. Do you think Coulthard will make a comeback this weekend or not?
I don't know.
He just hasn't been there at all year. So what about Reynolds? Do you think Reynolds will be up there?
I mean, he's pretty fast.
He was fast in town. Oh, he wasn't that fast at Townsville, but I think that was due to tires. But yeah, he
Nah. I think either Scott or Van Gisbergen.
yeah, yeah, they've been pretty
For
good.
sure.
Van Gisbergen was literally the most consistent over Queensland Raceway last year. He got third in both races, so he's the most consistent around Queensland Raceway, consistently third.
Love it.
Righto, so that just about does it. Thank you very much, Samara, for joining me.
That is okay.
I'm sure we'll try and do this again after Queensland Raceway. Are you going to watch all the races, Samara?
Oh yeah, sure.
Good on you.
Definitely.
Okay, we'll see you all next time. Thank you very much for listening.